Wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Derek Gilbert stole my amazing title for this episode. It was going to be Roswell That Ends Well, but actually, he didn't steal it. I gave it to him, but I got it from a Futurama episode. So clearly, we're going to be talking about Roswell today. In studio with me, my lovely, beautiful wife. How are you, Christina Peck?
I'm great, honey. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So I just got back from Roswell, New Mexico, with Derek and Sharon Gilbert. We were on an investigative kind of trip thing there. And I got to be kind of careful on what I disclose to people, no pun intended. But I don't want to say too much. But this might be somebody's first time watching the show, and if it is, where can people find us online?
You can find us right here on YouTube, youtube.com/Into the Multiverse. You can find us on Roku, onto the Skywatch TV channel. And also, there's an app now for Skywatch TV. Just go to your Apple Store or Google Play Store on your smartphone and type in Skywatch TV.
All right. Yes, and make sure you do subscribe. It's very important. And when you do subscribe, click on the little bell next to the subscribe button so you'll get notifications. YouTube changed a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all a mess, and people are rioting in the streets and
gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, I guess they did something with their algorithm, but they did. I don't know. But click on the little bell, and then you'll get notifications for every episode. So Roswell. Before going to Roswell, I think I had a fairly decent idea of what it was all about. You know, the UFO crash back in 1947 and all that. And I thought I had like a pretty good opinion formed about that. I figured that, okay, well, maybe it was like an alien type craft, but also maybe it was just something, some kind of high technology the government had. But I was sort of leaning towards, you know, some kind of otherworldly technology, if we call it that,
right.
You know. And going there was a couple different reasons why we went there. I mean, it was to investigate for this upcoming project that Derek and I are working on. But also, Guy Malone was putting on this big conference there of challenging the traditional ideas about Roswell and aliens and basically the kind of stuff that you would see on Ancient Aliens.
Right.
So we got to attend that, and actually, I think Nick Redfern brought up some really good points. There were a bunch of speakers. You know, Guy Malone, obviously, Joe Jordan, which we do have an interview with him in that you'll see in another episode. Joe Jordan, Daryl Sims, Michael Heiser was there. Dr. Michael Heiser, our good friend. I don't want to leave anybody out. There was a bunch of speakers, but. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Nick did a presentation that I've seen on YouTube before, but it was kind of challenging the view of Roswell that it was an alien craft. You know, he actually brought out some good research and good reasons why he believes it was most likely a government experiment type of thing, even experimenting on human beings, which that's what the bodies that we're seeing were. They might have been Japanese prisoners of war or Japanese people with disabilities like progeria or something like that.
Yeah.
So he brought up a lot of good points, but it was a really good trip. It was really beneficial. And unfortunately, you weren't able to join me because you had the kids.
No, I stayed with the children at home, but we all had fun anyway. We kept up with your posts on Facebook every day. I showed the kids your new adventures. You were gone for your birthday.
Yes. And that's actually a funny story that originally I wasn't planning on telling it on the show, but well, you know, why not? It's kind of funny. It's funny. So I turned 33 on July 1st, so it's the 70th anniversary of the Roswell crash. I turned 33, and according to Dave Flynn's research, Roswell is on the 33rd parallel. So it's funny, and I'm sure there's going to be a couple people, see, he's a Freemason, or he's Illuminati, or he's in the occult thing, the occult.
The occult. He's the occult.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of funny, and but anyway, go ahead.
I have said before on a separate show that you and I did elsewhere. Yeah, Josh Peck, former McDonald's employee, goes Illuminati.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. You should share your secrets there, because I don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
And where's all the money that you're supposed to have with it? Come on.
Yeah, I gotta love it.
No, but the kids, they enjoyed seeing your pictures and your posts, and the other people around you that are friends of ours on Facebook taking pictures and posting, pictures with you and Derek and Sharon. It was a lot of fun. And as I was saying, you are gone for your birthday. The kids and I made you a birthday cake.
I saw.
We decided to take a picture of it, and the kids helped me write, "Happy birthday. We miss you." And,
you guys are awesome.
And we decided, well, Dad can't be here to eat it yet, not for a couple days, but let's take a picture and post it on Facebook anyway. So we got a little sappy.
I love you guys, and it was delicious. When I came back, I had a small piece because I'm trying to watch my figure.
I'm clearly not.
Yeah, but it was delicious. But yeah, it was a really good trip. We were able to get some interviews for things, and again, I got to be careful how much I really disclose about what exactly we're putting together. I can tell people that it's not what you're thinking. I figure, like, if I heard that, oh, they went to Roswell. They're doing something on aliens. Yeah, it's been done to death. It's not that. It of course, it's Roswell. It has to do with that. But this is something that's never really been done before. Something that's a little controversial, but I think it's really important. But yeah, we got to spend some time with our good friend Dr. Michael Heiser, and we got to meet some new friends like Daryl Sims. Fantastic. Actually, before we went, you and I watched 2 of his previous presentations from a few years ago.
Very fascinating. Very fascinating. And a lot of people, they jump to, well, it's not. Some people. Well, no, a lot. They jump to, well, it's not physical, it can't really hurt you. Well, it is physical, and it can hurt you, regardless of the spiritualness we have. I mean, people who've experienced sleep paralysis, that's physically hurting you in some way. You can't breathe. So it's not all just spiritual.
Right. There's at least physical effects. Now, whether the source is something totally non-physical or something totally physical, that's still up for debate, and people have different ideas about that, which I always find it interesting. And I know people. We both know people on both sides of that argument, and it's interesting. It's interesting both ways.
It could be a little from column A and a little from column
well,
B.
yeah, very well could be. I know this wasn't really an alien thing, but I mean, unless there's like a common root cause to all this stuff, which there likely is. But I know when I was younger, I actually had something come into my room, and I at the time, and I still do, I recognized it as a demon or something demonic, something spiritual, but it did physically affect the environment. Like in my room. Like, for example, when it put its hand on the bed and leaned over me, I could feel the bed kind of dip down in that. And after it left, because I always slept with my door closed. I had to, because we had cats, and if I didn't, they would run through. They're nocturnal animals. They make a lot of noise at night.
Make a hot mess.
Yeah, and I didn't want them waking me up, so I would always keep my door closed. Well, when the thing left, it left the door open, which is inconsiderate. Yeah, but
stupid entity.
But it left the door open, and then when I like woke up or whatever the next morning, the door was still open. So, and my mom didn't do it, my stepdad didn't do it, I certainly didn't get up and do it. So there are physical effects, which is strange. But yeah, Daryl Sims, he's actually. He's one of the few researchers in the whole ufology field that he allows the research to take him to his conclusions instead of the other way around. A lot of the more out there, ufologists,
There's some doozies.
Yeah, like people you'd see on shows like Ancient Aliens and things like that. A lot of them, it seems like they have a conclusion already, and then they got to make that evidence fit, because if they don't, then they don't have a TV show. If it's not Ancient Aliens, if it's something else, they don't have a TV show anymore. And that's in it, like, it's what, 10th or 11th or 12th season or something now. It's been on for years. It's crazy. But it does show that there's an audience for that, because I think people just intuitively know there's something more going on than just our world. And they're trying to have some kind of connection with something otherworldly that is or has manifested in our physical reality at some point, something that cares about us. Well, they taught people how to make all these buildings and, all these, we don't even have the technology today to do, which, yes, we do, and we've had it for a long time, but people are interested in that. They can look at Ancient Aliens Debunked by Chris White, a fantastic.
Nothing is new under the sun.
Fantastic documentary. And Michael Heiser was actually in that, and he put in a lot of his own work into that question too. But people are craving that, and that's part of what we went to Roswell for. But I like that Daryl Sims, and he's got some crazy stories. I mean, I believe them. I don't say crazy derogatorily at all. I believe them, and I believe him, and he has experiences that he's been through as a child, and I believe that they're real. But he actually has evidence to back a lot of this stuff. He's taken part in removing what some would call alien implants. They're something, but I think he's taken part in over, I don't know, 20 or 25 surgeries, something like that, to remove these implants.
Wow.
They've had them tested even, and it shows that there's something biomechanical, so something part machine, part biological, that as far as we know, we don't have that technology. Now we might in some secret underground lab somewhere, and it could be the government doing all this stuff. But so we got to interview him, and that was a lot of fun. We also it was funny because Derek told me before we left that we'll be able to interview and meet Daryl Sims, and I didn't recognize the name. Then you and I watched the presentation. I was like, oh, I know that guy.
You're like, that guy, Daryl Sims. I'm like, doesn't sound familiar. You're like, he looks like Burt Reynolds. I'm like, oh, yep, that guy.
He kind of does. And so we watched the presentation and got kind of familiar with refamiliarized with his work. So we got to talk to him, and he has a really interesting perspective. We got to talk to more people too, and we'll talk more about Roswell and different things involving Roswell when we come back right after this.
Coming exclusively from Skywatch TV. When you purchase the 3-book special investigative research collection, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerith Imperative from SkywatchTV.com, you'll receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free books, DVDs, audio files, and the data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative, which includes 56 Christian classic works on PDF. All 28 episodes in Dr. Michael Lake's Understanding the Kingdom audio series. The latest version of Eastward for Windows. The 3-part Into the Multiverse television series where Josh Peck interviews Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerith Imperative. And nearly 3 hours of bonus interviews on video with Dr. Lake on the Sharpening Report. For your library or to give away as gifts. Also included in this biggest giveaway in Skywatch TV history are Josh Peck's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, The Quantum Future and Extra-Dimensional UFOs. Dr. Michael Lake's full-length 2016 DVD presentations, Jericho, The Anatomy of a Stronghold, and The Shinar Directive. The 5-part Skywatch TV special investigative report on the books, Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and The Sheerith Imperative. But that's not all. You'll also receive the best of Skywatch television on DVD. Over 5.5 hours of the most popular episodes in Skywatch TV history. Travel through the multiverse on the best of Into the Multiverse on DVD. Over 5 hours of audio with Josh Peck on The Coming Technocalypse. The best-selling book, The Final Roman Emperor. An incredible 5-year subscription to the Skywatch magazine. 2 brand new free gift books. And the Data DVD library from Dr. Michael Lake on the Sheerreef Imperative. For your library or to give away as gifts. An unprecedented value of over $400 in free products. This is the biggest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. And it's yours absolutely free when you purchase the 3-book special investigative research collection. Abaddon Ascending, Final Fire, and the Sheerreef Imperative for only $39.95 plus shipping from SkywatchTV.com for the unprecedented value of over $400 while supplies last. For more details, log on to SkywatchTV.com.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. If you haven't had a chance to do so, please subscribe. And you can download the app, as Christina said in the first part of the show. Lots of people are downloading it. They love it. It helps out a lot. But yeah, so just getting back to the whole thing about Roswell, the main point of the investigation, and this is going to sound really broad, and it's probably not going to sound that exciting, but I can't get too
you can't
specific.
put too much detail.
Yeah, I can't get too specific because this is something that's still months away from being completed, probably by the end of the year. But it was in part to kind of look into this question: why are people so interested in it? Mm-hmm. You know, one of the strange things too, we did like man on the street interviews, you know, where we just go up to random people, because there was a big festival going on, so there's a lot of people. We did like 3 or 4 or 5 different interviews like that. Random people. There was only one that said that she didn't believe in God. All the rest of them did, but they couldn't really define what that meant for them. Just they kind of generally had an abstract idea that God was out there somewhere. But when it came to aliens, they were real interested, and you know, they generally kind of had more answers about that. Derek looked up a statistic that says something like there's a larger percentage of people that believe in aliens rather than God. I don't think there needs to even be a choice, but I thought that was interesting. Well, how about you? Because I know that you've had a UFO experience, and you've talked a little bit about it on the show before. But tell people a little bit about that, and then why. You know, what was it that kept you from going down that path of, you know, kind of just accepting aliens instead of God?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first time I had the first real clear memory I have of a UFO experience. Growing up on a farm in southeast Michigan, it wasn't abnormal to see out in the middle of the country, middle of nowhere. I'd see them in the sky all the time. Well, I was 12 when I had my first close encounter, like real close encounter. I was at a friend's house, and they had seen one the night before. They were stargazing, and then they saw one kind of zigzag through the sky. And we were there that night. I was hanging out, and she was going to come over to my place to stay the night, so she's packing up, go out there, and they have a Labrador. They had a Labrador, and she's usually at the gate all the time. And, well, the dog was not there when we walked out. And my sister was napping in the car. My mom was there talking to my friend's mom, and we walked out, and I walked over to our car, and it was a 2-door, so you had to push the seat forward. Well, I kind of saw something kind of reflecting off her garage. Some red and white and blue lights. Yeah, very patriotic. But I kind of look up, and oh, there it is. Lo and behold, it's right there. It was very silent. There was like a small like humming sound, and it, like there seemed like to be something surrounding it. Like I called it a wavy band. It was just like this. It like generated. You could see the waves of the sound that it was making. And So I turn to my friend and I'm just picking her up and trying to throw her in the car. She's like, hold on, hold on. I was like, no, you need to get in the car. You need to get in the car. Now you need to shut up and get in the car. And it was close enough to be able to see what was inside. And it had triangular windows. It looked like it had been beat up a little bit. Looked like it went through some stuff. I remember seeing the symbols on the ship. And Creatures is very hypnotizing. It's one thing, I've heard over and over since then, since having my experience, a lot of other people say it's very hypnotizing, very suggestive.
Daryl Sims even talks about that.
Yeah, and it is. It's very suggestive. It's like, it's almost like, when he says, hey, put an idea in your head, it is telling you, you can't move. And this is just going to happen to you. Yeah, but my fear, my fight or flight kicked in, and I did move.
Yeah.
And it just it was very hypnotizing at first, and I was like, oh my gosh, but somewhere in my mind, it's like, no, you need to move. You need to get out. And so I remember getting in the car after a little while, but the thing took off. Once my mom walked out, it's like it just kind of just took off. Kind of did like a turnaround thing, and then took off again, and then turned around again, and then shot off into wherever. And so I took my mom a little while to calm me down, but I said, Mom, I saw a UFO. And she's like, well, I'm going to get so-and-so's mom, and she's gonna come to our house tonight. We're not staying here. She's not gonna stay alone. And so we all went back to my place. My place wasn't too far away. It was just a couple miles. But we all stayed in one room that night. That was my very first close encounter with that situation.
And you've had others. Oh, what was it that kept you from going down that path of like all the alien stuff, and becoming like a new ager or something?
No, it scared me. The thing is, because I felt what was behind it, and it was not benevolent at all.
Okay.
It was there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of fear. It felt like everything and anything that would be wrong was something I felt behind it, and I did not want to study it in that way.
Yeah.
I wanted answers. Yes, I did. I wanted answers on what and why. But something was always like, well, God is there. He'll protect you. And they could only come so far. I've never been abducted. I've never... I've had close encounters for sure, but I've never been abducted. I've never had anything like that happen to me because they could only come so far. They tried.
That's interesting. What did the thing look like that you saw? The being or alien or entity or whatever. What it actually looked like?
I could see him. He was peach. He was not gray. He was peach, and he had the black almond eyes, but in a very thin, spindly looking thing. He had 4 fingers. And it was very odd. He did something, I don't know if it was part of the suggestion or hypnotism, but he wrapped his fingers around his wrist, and it became just like a little stub. And it was disgusting. But I don't know if it was to implant more fear, to just paralyze me. But I never wanted to go looking for answers from the aliens themselves.
Right.
It took a couple years, but I could not drive past my friend's house at night. I didn't really want to go over there. I wanted to stay as far away as I could. Even when I started working in a place, I had to go to another town over. And the way to get to that town where I worked was to drive past my friend's house. And sometimes I had to drive home at night. And like 10 o'clock at night, even at 18 years of age, was kind of scary for me. I remember a few years after, even a few years after, my mom would kind of slow down going past her house. I'm like, is that where that was? And I would just crumble. I would fall into the seat and I would start screaming. And she's like, it's okay, nothing's there. I'm like, do not talk about it.
Yeah.
I could not talk about it. I could not talk about it at night. I didn't want to talk about it. I was in a state of preservation.
Yeah. Well, I remember it even took a while for you to tell me about that.
Yeah.
We were dating a long time before you finally did. And you had other experiences too, which we probably don't have time for in this episode, but maybe the next one we can get into some of those. But I'm sure there's probably people who have seen something or maybe are actively dealing with something like that. What would your advice for those people be? Like, what can they do? Should they even look into it? Should they try to find answers, or like how do they process that?
How
did you process it?
My piece was prayer, prayer, and just staying in the Word of God, and I would just meditate on Him. That's all I could do. I didn't go into this New Age stuff, or I didn't find it more appealing afterwards, and some people do, but don't. Just stay far away from it. If you get into that stuff, you're just asking for more activity. And I don't I have a friend who went in that direction, and it didn't work out very well for her.
What happened with her?
She had, let's just say, she had more visitations than she would have liked. And that's all I can say about that.
Right.
Wow. But yeah, it's not good. But I just stay in the Word of God, pray, and know that you are marked, and they can only come so far.
Now, and next week we're going to talk with Joe Jordan, who's he's a MUFON investigator. I think he's a state director for South Korea, if I have that title right. But we're going to talk with him. He's been studying this stuff for years, and he's actually come across the way for people to stop abductions from happening, and not just the one time that it happened, but just like altogether, to have it stop altogether. And it's actually the same way that I was able to get the habitual sleep paralysis to stop, where it was almost every night or a few times a week. And of course, there are times that it just happens because we live in a fallen world and we have to, in some capacity, share the space with demons and fallen angels and things like that. But it's not where it happens all the time anymore. And I think, at least in that regard, the abduction phenomenon could be, I don't want to say it's the same thing, because it's not, but it can be handled in the same way. So that is our show for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Join us next week, and we will talk with Joe Jordan. All right, all that being said, take care and God bless.